Hey, what's up, guys? This is David D. Destroyer at alightinthegrimdark.blogspot.com, and this is my as promised airbrush kind of intro. Just kind of a for some of the local guys here that have been curious about airbrushing or might have bought your first airbrush and have seen how I airbrush and that have been asking me, hey, David, will you go and make us a video about your airbrushes and how you do it, or what you mix it with, or what do you do? And so this is for you guys or anybody else that might find something useful from it. You guys can leave me comments or anything of that sort by the end. And yeah, so basically what I'm going to go over is a couple different types of, or the two different types of airbrushes that I personally own, and kind of a quick difference between the two, and more importantly, the things that I use to mix paints and what kind of paints and things that I use. And the first one the first brush that I started out with was this guy here. It's a like a Master Series siphon feed. Siphon feed means that it uses this cool little paint can that you load to be able to brush, and it's a dual action, which means that the trigger mechanism here, you can push down to release paint, and then as you pull back, it releases air. So it's so you have a lot of control over how much of both that spray out and how much atomization that happens. Atomization is like the mist quality and how fine of a mist that you get. If you get clumps coming out, you probably haven't mixed something right, or there might not be enough air blowing through the brush itself. And but yeah, the siphon feeds generally require a little bit more air from your air compressor to be able to slurp up the paint that you're using, and to be able to actually get it to blow out. So the mist that comes out of it is you can get a real fine mist if the air is strong enough, but then you have to be farther away. You may not be able to get that real fine detail with this gun. But yeah, works really well for large projects. I still use this gun for terrain. Works excellent with. Whereas it's real large scale projects and things, and I can fill the can up and just freaking go at it, which is awesome. So that is a gravity feed. Move that aside. Set that aside. My baby that I use, he's all dirty right now because I just got done painting with him a little while ago for my Grey Nights vlog. But this is my Iwata Eclipse, and this is a gravity feed. What's nice about gravity feeds is that it doesn't require as much air to get the nice misty atomization coming out of the gun, because the paint's sitting right inside the needle. I don't know if you can see it in there, but that's the needle inside there, and so it's not having to draw paint up. It's just just letting itself into the gun itself, so it requires very little amount of air. It's also dual action, and you can and what I really like about this is adjusting the air compressor. You can really get the mist effect that you're really going for. You can really go down to real fine lines, a really large line, or really large areas, whatever it is that you're needing to do. You can go real transparent with the paint that you're using with this gun. You just feels like you have a little bit more control. But for larger projects, it can become kind of a pain where you're sitting here having to use more paint as you go. But you can also save more paint because of that. If you only need to do like an arm of a Space Marine or something, you're like, oh crap, I don't want to have to go and load 8 drops of paint just to get it to draw. You can only put 1 drop in and still be good. So this is my baby though. He's real. The rear side to him is real heavy. So I usually just pull this back piece off here, so that it feels a little bit more natural without it, without back cover on. But at the same time, if you're not using it, like if you're locking them up, if you're gonna store them away or something, always keep it on so that your needle's not exposed, because you can break or bend your needle. If you do that, you're pretty much screwed. The needles that I've seen of this size have been like $30 or probably more than that even. It's a needle that goes all the way through the barrel of the gun, so be real careful with that. So that's the gravity feed Iwata class, HP class. Stuff that I mix with. This is probably the one that I get asked the very most. The two things that I use the very, very most is this stuff here, and the super secret ingredient, special ingredient, I guess, not so super secret, is glazing medium. Is awesome, and I'll go over that in a second. This stuff here, biggest freaking ripoff ever. This is Tester's Model Master acrylic, universal acrylic thinner. This is freaking diluted water, and it cost me $8 at the hobby store. Whereas you can go down to like Safeway and get a gallon jug of it for like $2. I guess it's cool that it's got a cool little fancy tip, but you can go down to Michael's and get the same bottle for like 50 cents. So don't be fooled by the wrapper when you actually go in and you're looking at it and you're like, it doesn't have a smell. It has the same consistency as water. Well, it's probably freaking water. And sure enough, looked it up, and it's what did I say? Distilled water. I'm sorry, distilled water. Which I highly recommend distilled water, because what can happen sometimes with tap water that I've noticed is that if you're doing if you're painting a marine or a model or whatever, and you're sitting there and you're painting them, is that you might actually see the paint start to bead on the model or pool in funny places, and you're like, what the hell is going on? And it's I've noticed that I don't get that with distilled water as what I used to do with tap water, and it's because of the some of the chemicals that are inside of tap water to clean it. I guess I don't know how any of that crap works, but I know that it's not good for models. So whatever. This stuff here is absolutely amazing, and this stuff is you can get from Michael's. I think it was like $8 for the size bottle. I bought it maybe about a year ago. I use maybe a drop or two at a time when I change colors. But this here, what it does is glaze medium is the stuff that they put into your paint, that they mix with the pigments inside of the paint that make it paint. What glaze medium does is that actually, I'm sorry, I'll backstep a little bit. What can happen when you go and you load your airbrush is that when you put paint inside and like you thin it down stuff, you mix it up, you're like, cool, heck yeah, I'm ready to go, ready to start painting, yeah, and then all of a sudden, you're getting the mist itself isn't real fine. It's coming out like speckled kind of, or it's coming out real thick, like gloopy, and just nasty. It just doesn't look right. What might and even though you're thinning it and you're thinning the crap out of it, or it's just not spraying evenly, or you have to keep if you pull back on the trigger and then press down and back and stuff, you can kind of release the any clogs or anything. It's still getting clogged, and you're like, what the hell is going on here? What can be happening, or what I found out that happens with the paint, is that those pigments, and you'll notice it especially in lighter colors, in GW foundation paints, because the pigments are real thick in those, or they're real dense in those, is that it will clog inside the brush, because of how dense that the pigments are. Adding some of this stuff here adds transparency to it, and basically it separates those pigments, and so it will give you that much finer mist that you might be missing. So, for instance, what you'll also find is that between the color palette itself, going from black requires fewer pigments, so the paint is naturally thinner, And then whereas white requires more pigments, and so white paint or lighter colors are naturally thicker. So that's important when you're, it's important to know when you're going through and you're like, all right, cool, how much, thinner do I use, or how much glaze medium do I use, or what the hell do I do? So my rule of thumb with black is I just do or darker colors like reds are usually pretty easy to use. I'll use 1-to-1 for paint, 1 drop of paint to 1 drop of distilled water, and then I'll also use 1 drop of glaze medium in just about every mix now. Even my darker colors, though it doesn't really need it, I'll still do it anyways, just to make sure that the flow is is nice and smooth. So I'll add an additional drop of distilled water because the stuff here is kind of thick, and to 1 drop of this. That would be, so if 1 drop of black paint, I'll do that'll be 2 drops of water, 1 drop of this. So what's that? 4 drops total. So whatever the drop of however much kind of paint that you're using, like if it's 1 drop of paint, I always match it with this here. So 1-to-1 on this, 1-to-1 on this, and paint total. Does that make sense? So yeah, cool. If you have questions about that part, let me know below. iPhone's going off. Yeah, someone's invited me to Farmville on Facebook or something. That's actually exactly what it was. That's fun. So there's that. With whites, I recommend maybe 2 drops of this. 2 drops of this stuff here, which means that for 1 drop of white, 2 drops of this, it's going to be 3 drops of water. 1-to-1 on everything with water. So just to make sure it's nice and thin for the brush. I had when I was making my Imperial Guard, when I was painting them, I had a color that was the absolute worst color ever to put through a brush, and it was this guy here. I almost killed myself because of this paint. It was a real love-hate kind of thing. It is Citadel Astronomicon Gray. Though it gave such a dynamic highlight to the tanks that I was working on for that army, but I could not get it to go through the airbrush. I had it watered down like 5 parts to 5 parts water, 1 part this, and it would not go through the brush. Eventually I started adding, I think it was 3 drops of glaze medium, I think it was, to every 1 part of this, and it worked beautiful, and now I absolutely love that paint. Though I don't have any need for it anymore because I no longer own that army. So yeah, but that's glaze medium, distilled water, and how to do that. The next part is, and that I get a lot of folks asking is, well, how do you load your brush? Keep this in mind that I'm using a gravity feed, but what I like to do is I go to Michael's and I buy these cool little toothpicks they're kind of like a oar shape, I guess, like a paddle shape, skinny at one end, thick at the other. But what's cool about these is that you can reach right into the pot if you're using GW, and reach right in. I just got paint all over my finger, and take just enough out and just let it drip right into the center of the cup. And then you're able to measure everything. 1 drop of water, 1 drop of medium, and it works really well if you're trying to if you're mixing paints, like if you're mixing what am I using right now? Silvers. Like for my gray nights, I'm darkening some of the silvers, or I'm lightening some like the blues for like the OSL and stuff. And yeah, the other cool trick with glaze medium is that with some of the OSL, like you're seeing in my Grey Knights army, is that the blue, I still can't tell if it's coming through on the camera or not, but the blue that you see actually on the like the core of the model is it's real transparent. I'm using, like with the I think I'm using Regal Blue or Enchanted Blue or something, and I'm diluting it probably about maybe 4 parts. One part paint to like 4 parts glaze medium, and the reason why is because I don't want the blue to be so overpowering that it's just like, man, that's a blue marine right there. Yeah, that looks awful. No. I need them to be, I need it to be transparent. I need the hue there, and then it gives me a lot of control over, well, do I add more? Do I add smaller layers? Things like that. And that leads me right into the next part to painting, or to using the airbrush, is use real thin, light layer coats. You're going to get a real smooth, coat finish on the models when you're just going. I mean, it may not cover it the first time, so finish the model. I mean, by the time that you get to the very end, the model's probably already going to be dry, and if it's not dry, you're blowing air at a really high, high pressure through a gun. So instead of pushing down on the trigger to release paint, just pull straight back. All it's going to do is release pure air. And if you need to go and get some paint to that you can tell is wet, hold it back so that be a little bit farther away from the model when you do it. But just pull straight back, and you're going to blast that thing with a bunch of air that's going to dry it pretty fast. If you get too close, though, you're going to start shifting any pulled paint or anything, which can happen, which then you have to go and correct it by putting more and more, lighter coats of paint over the model. So it's not recommended, being too close. But if you're just like, oh man, I don't want it to pull, let me go and brush it real quick just to make sure it's nice and dry, can be pretty handy. So there's that. Let's see. Otherwise, for the most part, in the way of paint, I mainly use GWs. So I'm starting to trade everything out for Vallejos. I really like Vallejos, and I'm real eager about trying out Reaper. I like how large that the Reaper class, or Reaper Master class, paints. I like the variety of it, and the triads, the paint color triads that they have available are really, really nice. Although I absolutely love Vallejo Model Air is awesome, because with this stuff here, it's nice and thin. It's already diluted down for your airbrush, and though you might need, sometimes you might need a little bit of like water or something. For the most part, I load this stuff straight into the brush, and away you go. So this stuff is fantastic, though the paint color line, as I recall, is kind of limited. So, but if you can get your hands on them, it's awesome. Otherwise, video went on for way longer than what I thought it was going to. I'm at like 18 minutes now. Otherwise, that's it for now, and I'm going to go and upload this bad boy, and I'll have a part 2 if you guys need. Otherwise, any additional questions that you guys might have, please send me a personal message or leave them in comments down below. Subscribe if you like, and like if you absolutely love the video or anything, or found something useful out of this. And if there is anything else that you guys need answered, I will have a follow-up video for you. Otherwise, you guys have a great evening, and I will see you guys next time.